All Blacks head coach Scott Robertson is making waves again, this time with his high praise for rookie back row Wallace Sati ahead of the Bledisloe Cup clash against the Wallabies in Sydney. Sati has been turning heads since his debut, and Robertson's hints about a potential positional switch have fans buzzing. If you are a fan of All Blacks, write "Go All Blacks" in the comments and subscribe to the channel to reach the target of 10,000 subscribers. Sati first hit the international stage during the All Blacks' dominant 47-5 victory over Fiji in July, coming on as a replacement. He then got another shot off the bench in the Rugby Championship against Argentina in Wellington. And man, did he deliver! Despite the All Blacks loss, Sati's performances were solid, showing why he's a player to watch. But the real highlight came when Sati made his first test start in Cape Town against the Springboks just 2 weeks ago. Even though the All Blacks narrowly lost that match 18-12, Sati stood out, especially since he was playing on the blindside flank, not his usual position. With Ethan Blackadder out due to injury, Sati stepped up and was one of the best players on the field. Head coach Robertson can't stop raving about the young player. He sees a lot of potential in Sati, especially since the rookie can play in all 3 loose forward positions. Robertson said, "He's got the ability to rise to the occasion. He's come through quickly and is so diligent. He's a good pro and we've been impressed with him." Robertson's even hinted that Sati might switch positions again in the upcoming game. That possible switch could see Sati move back to his preferred spot at number 8, where he's shown for the Chiefs in this year's Super Rugby Pacific campaign. If this happens, it could shake up the lineup, with vice-captain Savia potentially shifting positions. Savia has been a big supporter of Sati, speaking highly of his impact on the team. He even admitted that Sati's calmness and wisdom inspire him. "We can perceive him as a young fellow, but he's come into this team with so much calmness, even wisdom," Savia said. "He's inspiring me in the way he walks and the way he plays. It's been nice watching him in Super Rugby and then being able to play with him." Despite a tough season with 3 losses out of 4 matches in the Rugby Championship, Savia remains optimistic. He believes that the upcoming Bledisloe Cup game against the Wallabies is the perfect opportunity for the All Blacks to turn things around and prove their strength once again. "Sometimes you get knocked down, but it's how hard you can get back up," Savia said. "What a way for this team to show the country that we can bounce back and get our feet on the ground again." With everything at stake in Saturday's clash, it's set to be an epic showdown. Will Robertson's hints about Sati's role change come to fruition, and can the All Blacks bounce back after their recent setbacks? Now's the time to show your support. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on all the latest updates, game highlights, and interviews from the All Blacks. Let's hit that 10,000 subscriber goal. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Sati will switch positions? And how do you feel about the All Blacks' chances this weekend? We'd love to hear from you. A worrying trend in the All Blacks game will keep Scott Robertson up at night despite New Zealand defeating Australia in the Bledisloe Cup. After defeating Australia 28-31 in the Bledisloe Cup, the All Blacks have now won 5 of their 8 test matches under Scott Robertson, but that is not the stat that will keep the head coach up at night. Rather, it will be the team's inability to finish matches strongly, which continues to be a concerning trend for the men in black. In fact, after 5 rounds of Rugby Championship action, the All Blacks are yet to score a point in the final quarter of the match, having struggled to do so even before the competition. This is despite the fact that Robertson has clearly aimed to find a solution by making alterations to his bench and making tactical adjustments to rectify the problem. Historically, the All Blacks were a team that no lead held by the opposition was ever enough and that they would find a way back. Sir Graham Henry and Steve Hanson's teams were masters of the comeback and were certainly aided by the world-class talents that they were able to call upon off the bench. However, under Robertson, New Zealand are starting the match off well and tend to lead by the time the hour mark rolls around, but there is no assurance that their lead is enough to hold out for the win. In South Africa, that was certainly the case, as in both test matches against the Springboks. Razor's men were the better side for about an hour of action, but both times they ended the game on the losing side, having failed to add any points to their tally. It's a fair question. We didn't finish that game as well as we could have. It was talked about in our review, and we have got some younger men starting their test careers as well. assistant coach Jason Ryan told reporters when asked about the team's struggles in the last quarter. 60-minute All Blacks survived second-half Wallabies scare to retain the Bledisloe Cup in Sydney Thriller, so we were honest around the reality of where we are at with that part of it, but by no means are we sugarcoating it and overlooking it. We are acknowledging it and well look to improve it definitely. I think it could be a little bit of both, to be fair, tactical or selection. We have got guys coming on that have played a handful of tests and see some atmosphere, especially at Ellis Park against the best team in the world. While not as starkly obvious as it has been in the Rugby Championship, there were hints about New Zealand's struggles in the last quarter of matches. In both games against England, Robertson's men scored a grand total of 14 points, a sole penalty, via the boot of Damien McKenzie in the first test and 2 of the same plus a Mark Telia try in the second. A week later, in the clash against Fiji, the All Blacks scored just 7 points at debutant George Bell crossed the whitewash before the final whistle and McKenzie added the extras. The trend continued against Argentina, with the All Blacks failing to score in both tests, including the 42-10 victory at Eden Park, and New Zealand made it 5 straight games without a point in the last quarter in Sydney. Wallabies v All Blacks. 5 takeaways as Australia avoid an annihilation after Scott Robertson's charges fall off the pace in Bledisloe. Blockbuster Test match rugby has not only become very much a 23-man-a-side game nowadays, but is also an 80-minute one decided by fine margins, illustrated in Sydney by the 3 disallowed tries, and the Wallabies' sensational comeback and the sluggish finishes need to be addressed as a matter of urgency. Not only are the All Blacks failing to score, but they are also failing to stop the opposition from doing so. They managed to keep England and Fiji scoreless in July, but in the Rugby Championship, they conceded 10 and 7 points in the final 20 of the 2 matches against Argentina, while conceding 14 and 5. Respectively, to South Africa. This means that under Robertson, in the last quarter, the scoreline collectively sits at 50-21 in the opposition's favor. And in the first clash with the Wallabies, Joe Schmidt's charges matched the box efforts, scoring 14 points, and were frankly unlucky not to get more. For Robertson, he has to find the main contributing factor to this. Many believe that is the lack of star quality and the number of star men who have departed abroad or retired. Others believe it is a tactical and selection issue. For ex-All Black center Sonny Bill Williams, it is both. The Springboks are leading the way because they've worked out that it's a 23-man game, and I just don't think we are there yet, Williams said on Stan Sports between 2 posts. I still think we have some of the best, if not the best, players in the world, but from a coaching perspective, we haven't nailed down the 23-man game mindset. He added, we should be picking those guys overseas. It's that easy. It's not about them, it's about the team, it's about the squad. First and foremost, it's about the cattle, and if we have these players, we have a Shannon Frizzle to pick from, we have Aaron Smith to pick from, they are game changers. Either way, Robertson will hope he can find the right mix as the All Blacks gear up for Bledisloe 2 without the pressure of putting the cup on the line, having already defended it. But with clashes against Japan, England, Ireland and France laying ahead, he will know that a fix is required sooner rather than later, as the tour up north can be incredibly brutal. The last 3 tests of the year are all against teams that have plenty of depth to call upon and will not be shy to make changes to improve their chances in the final quarter if they are within touching distance. Robertson currently sits with a 63% win ratio, and for an All Blacks boss, that is not acceptable for a public who is used to the men in black dominating the international game. Read more. All Blacks player ratings. Special talent Wallace Sati produces another stunner as bench fails in Bledisloe Cup blockbuster. There's mixed news on the Barrett brothers ahead of the All Blacks final Rugby Championship test. Scott Robertson gave his verdict on the performances of 2 rookies in the All Blacks' 31-28 win over Australia in Sydney on Saturday. Following the All Blacks' 28-31 Bledisloe Cup victory over Australia, here are 5 takeaways. Scott Robertson has hinted at a positional switch for one of the youngest members in the All Blacks squad during Saturday's clash with Australia in Sydney.